The Alexandria City Council meeting will come to order. It's a regular council meeting Tuesday, July 31st, 2007. We'll have the invocation by Mr. Smith and the pledge by Mr. Fowler.
Our Heavenly Father, we come before you this afternoon. We want you to continue to bless us and keep leading, guide us in this world. Again, we want to thank you for being so good, being so kind. Thank you for walking with us daily. Thank you for our health and strength. Our Heavenly Father, give us the wisdom and the knowledge to carry on this meeting the way that you see fit. These blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go to D, roll call.
Mr. Marshall.
Present.
Mr. Fowler.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Mr. Lawson.
Certainly.
Mr. Silver.
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Hobbs.
Here. Okay, E, the consent calendar.
I'd like to send 13 to Public Works. Zoning.
The 14.
I so move.
Second.
By Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Fowler. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Go to F, ordinance for final adoption, subject to public hearing, number 20.
To consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for electric generator improvements at Castachio Water Well Field. The administration requests that these bids be rejected.
I move to reject.
Second.
They move by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Smith for rejection. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
21, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for three-phase pad mount transformers for inventory stock.
Move it. Second.
Moved by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Fowler. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
22, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for treated wood poles for the electric distribution department.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Marshall, second by Mr. Lawson. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
23, to consider final adoption of an ordinance amending 0708 capital budget to provide for designation of Phase 1 of South Cloverleaf Boulevard.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Fowler. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
24, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a subdivision plat for re-subdivision of Lot 155 of Tennyson Oaks subdivision Phase 7B.
Move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Silvers. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
25, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a subdivision plat for Tennyson Oaks subdivision Phase 7B revised.
Move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Smith. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
26, to consider final adoption of an ordinance to reduce the right-of-way and street widths for a commercial street in the Lake District.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Lawson, second by Mr. Fowler. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
27, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing supplemental agreement number 1 to Wooddale Housing Drainage Improvements.
Second.
Moved by Mr.
Marshall.
Marshall, second by Mr. Lawson. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
28, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing engineering amendment number 1 to Meyermeyer, LaCroix, and Hickson for Jones Avenue asphalt overlay from Broadway Avenue to Willow Glen River Road.
Move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Marshall. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
29, to consider final adoption of an ordinance to authorize the mayor to enter into and accept acts of sale and transfer and a certain sewer servitude agreement between the city and certain property owners Wild Company and Camille Daspit Lacey, Renee Daspit Knapp Grimion, George Pius, and Marilyn Quartz Merrick for 2 separate tracts of property, including servitudes associated therewith in the Versailles Boulevard corridor, and to provide for related matters.
Second. Moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Johnson. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 30, to consider final adoption of an ordinance to authorize the mayor to enter into a professional services agreement for architectural and related services for the 3rd Street project, including Main Street from St. James Street to Broadway Boulevard with M3A Architects, William McElroy Architect, and to provide for funding and related matters pertaining thereto.
Moved by Mr. Marshall, second by Mr. Smith. Discussion. You let your record reflect that I abstain.
Okay.
All in,
Yeah, wait,
Wait.
Tracy.
We have a technical amendment to the title after the term 3rd Street Project, parenthesis, Louisiana Highway 1 Alexandria Urban Gateway. If I can explain the technical amendment, that is the term that the congressional appropriation refers to. Ms. McGills has been discussing the matter with Congressman Alexander's office, and we think it would be important to designate the project, which we've been calling the 3rd Street project. It's 3rd Street and Main Street, we believe. But if we could ask for a motion to amend the title.
I move.
second. Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Johnson to amend the title.
Gateway.
Yeah, okay, you got it. Okay. All right. Let
Take a
record
vote.
reflect that I abstain. All in favor?
Are you voting on the
On
amendment?
the
On
amendment?
the amendment.
Okay, in discussion?
Discussion.
Yes. Why didn't this go to the normal A&E selection committee appointed by the mayor and the president of the council? This came from the floor for this, and it's unusual for us to have a selection like this.
Ms. Fowler, when we did fast track, we didn't have engineering selection. We did all professional, and when we assigned Mr. Davy to do the whole fast track, we didn't go for engineering selection. We've done this before. I mean, so I don't see any problem why we weren't doing this. You bringing Mr. McElroy on one incident.
Well, it's not part
I
of
mean,
fast
we
track.
didn't, huh?
It's not part of fast track.
It's not part of fast track. I'm saying, but we didn't, we've done it on other occasions. It don't have to be part of fast track.
Well, I would like to see our local architects and engineers have a chance to submit on a project as large
You
as
know,
this.
you got a problem with it every time
What I have a problem with?
Go ahead, Mr. Silver.
We'll get into that.
Okay, let's leave. Come on, Will.
I think we used to have A&E, a committee composed of 5 people, 3 from the council and 2 from the administration. I think that should be reinstituted. Number 2, I think then you would have a meeting of the A&E with all 7 people as you designated to approve things going forward. That will eliminate this, because I think regardless of race, creed, color, gender, everyone should get a fair shake at these things. And I think this will bring it back into proper focus. And I think this should be approved, but going forward, I'd like to see a reinstitution of the guidelines that we have in going course. I think fast track may become medium track because it takes a while to get things done, and the norm around bureaucracy, it takes even more time than that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Silver.
I call for the vote. I just call for the vote.
Yes, sir, all in favor?
We voted on the amendment.
Amendment.
Need to vote on the original motion
Okay, we're
as
voting on the
amended.
original mo, all in favor? Oppose?
Aye.
And I recuse.
Abstain,
Okay.
Mr. Hobbs abstained, Mr. Fowler voted no.
Okay, all right. Okay, continue on.
Number 31, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office for the continuation of the Metro Narcotics Task Force.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Marshall, second by Mr. Johnson. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. You
Do
abstain.
you need to abstain?
He
You need-
abstained.
You need to say. 32, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to renew a maintenance agreement between the city and the State of Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for mowing, litter, and trash collection.
Moved by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
second by Mr. Smith. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Wake up.
30.
Number 33, to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Alexandria Pineville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau to promote tourism, recreation, and economic development in the city.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Fowler. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we go to G, committees.
Finance Committee, Mr. Lawson.
No report.
Public Works Committee, Mr. Silver.
I think I have a couple. This is an ordinance authorizing the approval of change order number 1 for Program C, work task number 6, Waverly and Windermere Boulevard concrete panel repairs. That'll stay pretty much within the budget.
Let's move for introduction.
Move for introduction. Secondly, we have another one, acceptance of a 15-foot wide sanitary sewer servitude being granted by the Alexandria Housing Authority to the city.
I'll second. Move for introduction.
It goes-
Audison, if you want to send it to a
It
committee.
goes back to Public Works.
Well,
And thirdly, an acceptance of the subdivision plat for England Drive subdivision lots 1 through 43. The same.
okay, I'll second.
That's all we have.
It goes back to Public Works. Legal Committee, Mr. Smith.
Ordinance authorizing the city council to enter into a professional service contract with John W. Scott and a professional service contract with Tony Martin to provide legal service, counsel, and services to the city of Alexandria related to the Alexandria Home Rule Charter, Louisiana Open Meetings Law, to legal affairs of the city of Alexandria, and to matters before the city council, to litigation and/or investigations related to or involving the city of Alexandria, to the CLECO lawsuit and its settlement, and other matters including compliance with local, state, and federal law, reports and fact-finding gatherings on legal matters pertinent to the city council, its responsibilities and deliberations, and general legal services. Move.
Second. Okay, the other one, I have an ordinance to authorize the mayor on behalf of the city of Alexandria to enter into a corporate endeavor agreement with the Honor Bonton Foundation, Inc., UBA, Honor Bonton African American Museum and Cultural Arts Center, and to provide a grant for the fiscal year 2007-2008 and other consideration related thereto in exchange for certain deliverable between and among the city, LSUA, and Honor Bonton related to the needed for cultural and educational purpose in an amount consistent with deliverables in the amount in a range from $50,000 to $75,000. That's the introduction of order. I move.
Second.
Second.
Yes. That's, I don't have anything else.
Utility Committee, Mr. Fowler.
No report.
Community Development, Mr. Marshall.
No report. But I got something I'd like to ask the administration to do. And maybe it might fall either in public development or even utilities. It's something that we in the community, our utilities, we got some good people working over there, and especially our guys in the water department. Most cities like New York brag on their water. I got relatives that come here from other places and brag on our water. I think maybe is it possible, Mayor, to kind of give out a handout or something to the community, to tell the community that our water comes from artesian wells. And the only chemicals that's added to it is what we have to add to by law. We got some of the best water in the area that we ought to be, waving the flag, when even people come here on tourism. We need to be waving that flag. And so we might see if we can work up something, asking, the administration to see if they can come up with something to do an ad on it. Thank you.
Personnel, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I have one item. I have an ordinance to amend the City of Alexandria retiree health premiums effective October 1st, 2007. And this was heard in committee and received support. Also
Second.
Second.
Public Safety Transportation, Mr. Marshall.
No report.
A&E Review, Mr. Fowler.
Report.
Economic Development, Mr. Lawson.
No report.
I had
Where's
one,
the,
I had one
yeah.
item, it's a resolution supporting the Alexandria Dixie Girls Softball Program Incorporated in its effort to host the 2008 World Series or other tournaments for the Angels, Darlings, Ponytails, and Debs, and Bells.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
That's it? Okay, I have one, Ms. Bright.
The first item that I would like to discuss has to do with our Lower Third Neighborhood Watch. And the second item has to do with me as a citizen. On the first item here, several months ago, our organization held a meeting with the city administrators and some council representatives to list and discuss pertinent issues in our community that have simmered on the back burner for a long time and needed some action and resolution. That meeting was held in February of this year. Okay, August starts tomorrow, and we still not have seen any positive actions on most of those items. Two of the items that we would like some positive intervention are, number one, the environmental pond at the Broadway Resource Center continues to be an eyesore and safety hazard. You can pass. These are some pictures from August of 2006, okay? Our organization has been told that an appropriation into the 2007-2008 city budget was incorporated for the purpose of filling in this pond. What we would like to know is when will this be done? This item has not made it to a committee stage as of yet, whether it be legal or public works, because there was a problem with ownership problem. August 2007 will be 2 years that we have been having to work to get this item resolved. And we were hoping by the September City Council meeting that we can have this item addressed at some committee meeting on the agenda. The second item is the Ruston Foundry hazardous waste site has been an ongoing saga in our community for many years. It has gone through mediation with the EPA and the designated owner partners, and still no light has been seen at the end of the tunnel. Until some action has been done with regard to cleanup, we can't effectively approach the next phase of this issue, which is reuse of this area. We are requesting, or rather recommending, that a liaison person within the city administration be designated as the contact person, along with our District Number 3 representative for handling the negotiation with the parties involved in this case. An organization by the city liaison or the council, in this way, the focus can be continued to get this problem resolved, and we can move on. Our organization's meetings are held on the second Monday of each month at 6 p.m. at the Broadway Resource Center. For the month of August, we don't have a scheduled meeting. But to discuss these issues, if we need to have an unscheduled meeting to hear some of the plans and proposals, we'll be glad to have that arranged. As always, we are available to discuss and work with the city administrators and the other branches on resolving any problems. And that was from my president, Earl Cross. My second item on that has to do with the article that was in the newspaper on Sunday, the guest article. And one of the things had to do about citizen input. And I would like that we have more citizen input. According to the ordinance that is posted outside on that door, it limits what can be discussed if it's from the citizens, if it's an open meeting, and what is on the agenda. When public servants are campaigning for office, they go out into the neighborhoods and they listen to what the people are saying and what the people want. After the election, the door should not be shut. It should be continuing. And what I'm asking is, and what the focus of what that article was, is that we look at what the ordinance that's on the book and have some type of vehicle in what the citizens can come and express their feelings, their proposals, or their recommendation, because communication is a two-way street. And that's all I'm asking, and that was the gist of that article. And if there was anything that was taken as negative by the council, it should not have been. Thank you.
All right. That's
I want
it.
to say on that pond, we appropriated the money. We don't fill the ponds, Ms. Bright. I agree with you. It should have been done, and maybe we should have followed up, but we'll put, if I remember correctly, $100,000 in the budget. So it's not a funding issue. That's where we kind of stopped, other than the fact that we should have followed up. And that's where we were.
So what is the next level?
Can I address that, Ms. Bright? Ms. Bright, when I got here, this problem with the pond already existed. There was a dispute about who was the actual owner of the property. We did a title search, and it turned out that arguably two people could actually be the actual owners of it. The city has agreed to accept a donation of the property from the legal owner. Of course, we can't accept one from someone who doesn't actually own the property. We have the title straight now. The party who we believe is the actual owner also had some other obligations to the city that need to be taken care of too in connection with that property. When that person takes care of those liens, then we will have title to the property, and we will commence the cleanup in accordance with the environmental standards, because you know that is a wetland also, and we've had problems with wetlands in the past. But we have the title clear now. We're going to get the liens taken care of, and we'll commence the cleanup.
Okay, because the only thing we're asking, if it's going to be 6 months or a year, give us some type of framework that we can work with, because we don't want it, just to get switched to the side.
Oh, no.
Because that's the way
That
it
cleanup
seems
is
like it's been.
it's a priority of my office, and we're going to have it resolved with all deliberate speed. You have my word.
Thank you.
Is Trey in?
He was in the back. I don't know.
He'll pop up in a second.
No, when she addressed that Ruston Foundry, I think.
Just got the material in.
That's
from
what I
Bid
want
Boat
him-
this
that's
week,
what I-
And we want to be able to review that. I've been in contact with Ms. Bright on that.
Well, she asked about
As it's-
tonight, and I know when Trey called me the other day, it was about, we were talking about district about what we had to do.
We haven't,
We already
our
got the shovel.
office hasn't all looked at it, Mr. Smith. It's about this thick, and we wanted to look at it, and then we'd be prepared to comment on it. Just so happened she asked today, and it just so happened we just got the material.
Yeah,
We've been requesting it for a long time for Mr. Midbow, and we just got it.
we just got notice of it on Friday and met with one of the principals. We're doing our due diligence right now. When we get the information back, we're going to, Mr. Branch and Mr. Duck will bring the matter back to the administration. It's ongoing, is all I can tell you. There's a number of legal things that we have to do, Ms. Bright, to look at that, and we're actively engaged at the present time in that, and as soon as we can, advise administration and the council.
And there's been conversations also with the administration, I know, and I visited also with Mr. Mola and the Arena Committee that have been having discussions about reuse on that property. So it probably hasn't been well publicized, but they have been working on multiple uses of the property.
For the public, it's not the city's property.
No, it's
our
not.
property.
We have no control.
The
That's right.
citizens, Ms. Bright is asking us to take the property, and we can't take it unless we get unless we have super immunity or some other fashion of immunity. Otherwise, you, the taxpayers, will be responsible when we accept the property. And I have spoken to the folks at Third Street. I know some of you have too. I even included Ms. Bright on a telephone call with Mr. Midbow to show that we are staying on task. Every time I ask, they say, in 2 weeks we'll get you something, and it didn't occur. Well, we finally have the package. And so now we're going to be able to answer, at least legally, what's taking so long. And I ask them the same thing that Sandra's asking us. I ask them every time, tell me a time frame. Tell me what I can tell the Third Street group, and they always say 2 weeks. But it's always 2 more weeks.
And you know, when they offered, and one of the offers with the other land, and we got to make sure that if the railroad giving us land, we got to do environmental stuff. That's why we had the Shaw Group. And we got to get them to go check out the 30 acres they were talking about before we can even put our hand on, make sure we're not taking on, something that we don't need.
Well, the only thing I know about that property is that in the final liabilities that were assigned, I think the railroad had a tremendous finding against them simply because they went across the property. They contributed nothing. They contributed nothing to the environmental hazard there. And I sure wouldn't want us to walk off into something blind and have that responsibility, because we discussed earlier that those findings can be huge.
They were bringing material, and there's only 2 acres in that contaminated, but they wanted to trade us off on a 3rd acre. But we got to bring the Shaw Group, the environmental part. We got to do a study on the other 30 acres before we can accept, because we might accept something that we, gonna cost us a lot of money. So, I mean, that's where we are
We have
now.
to get permission to enter into any consent decree for this superimmunity of the federal court, and there's a whole process involved with that. Todd Midbow formerly worked for the DEQ. He's been involved in this litigation for a long, long time.
All right. That's it.
That's it.